Hello, this is Steve speaking with his voice. I'm back in Waverly Park making another video, and as you may have already gathered, there are and will be changes to this park. As you can see by this sign, it has been declared a certified wildlife habitat, which means that the park will be entering a new phase, and I've had to scale back on, if not give up altogether, my vision of making this an urbane, Parisian style, formal sitting park with flower gardens and seating that also happens to have a wilderness area. The wilderness area, of course, is on the eastern bank of the brook, where I planted some indigenous seedlings to compensate for the loss of the burning bushes I removed last autumn. But that didn't work out so well, and I'll explain soon enough. Now let me stand back and get a view of the garden here. There's the big boulder. Let me scale back here. There we are. As you can see, the marigold garden is doing fine. I just weeded it, and I must say the marigolds look better here than the marigolds in my yard. I planted marigolds in front of my house. They were all doing fine. Just a week ago they all had flowers. Now none of them have flowers. I don't know what's going on with the marigolds this year, especially the marigolds I planted along my house. Let me move over here and let's get a little close up over here. I don't know if you can tell, but this is one of the Japanese maple saplings I planted in what I planned to be the formal part of this park. You really can't see the leaves on it, but it's doing okay. And the Japanese maple saplings that I planted on this side of the brook are doing no better than okay. They've had a rough go of it lately, and some of them look rather peaked. And let me walk over here to this Japanese maple sapling, which I planted 2 years ago. It was really tall when it was growing in front of my house, and well, yeah, it kind of looks like it's shedding its leaves a couple of months early. You know how Japanese maples are in the fall, say late October, early November. Monday they're in full color, a nice bright red. Tuesday they start to crumple up. Wednesday they're all on the ground. And on Thursday you don't make any plans for the weekend because the tree has already made plans for you. You have to rake up those crumpled Japanese maple leaves. Okay, well, there are a couple of other things I wanted to show you on the west bank of the brook, but since we're right here on the east bank, let me show you this. This, of course, is where the burning bushes used to be. They took over everything, and I got rid of all of them, but now they're starting to come back, and I've been informed that it might not be a bad idea to let them grow back, which means all my work was for nothing. I don't know, but fortunately there will be other changes coming to this area. This is where a pollinator garden is being planted, and all sorts of flowers and bushes will be planted here to attract butterflies, bees, hummingbirds. I love hummingbirds. I also like the song Leon Russell wrote and sang, simply called Hummingbird, and I like the Seals and Crofts song of the same name. They're two entirely different songs. They just have one thing in common besides the title. They both have a line that goes, "Hummingbird, don't fly away." Well, because I love hummingbirds and because they want to plant a pollinator garden here, I would love to see a lot of hummingbirds here. And butterflies. Bees I can do without for obvious reasons. Anyway, my hope of restoring the forest here by planting indigenous maple seedlings didn't pan out because the animals came along and ate the leaves. You know, when you have 2 leaves on a seedling and an animal eats 2 of them, you don't have a seedling anymore. You have a twig sticking out of the ground. Okay then, let me walk down the path here. Yeah, excuse me for a moment, the poles I put in here to allow people to hang on to something while they're navigating this steep trail here. They're gone because I have been informed that there's no way I can make them strong enough in the ground to ensure that they don't come out. I try to secure them and weigh them down every way I could, short of using cement, and I can't use cement. This is public property. I have to get permission for something like that, and I had no inclination or desire to do that. I figured I could just bury the ends of the poles into the ground and bury them as deeply as possible and put as many rocks in and around the hole as possible so that they would be secure and that no one would have to worry about them coming loose. There's no way you can do that without cement. So, well, c'est la vie, huh? Okay. And here's the fording path, the stepping stones. Still nice and secure. Went through a lot of pains to make sure they would stay secure. And here's this trail going up a 90-degree turn. I'm using the roots of steps, and here's the impatiens garden. There's the trail marker at the end of the trail. I don't know if I showed you this before. Let me pan in here. The annual I planted next to the pillar. Actually, I found that in the brook. Somebody must have thrown it out, and I just planted in here because it still had the roots. Okay. I'm getting good at panning in and panning out. Okay, and here's the new location for the children's picnic table, the only seating in the park other than the bench. This, of course, is where I had 2 nice, beautiful black Adirondack chairs, but unfortunately, I had to take them out for a few reasons. First of all, they were chairs, not benches. When was the last time you saw a chair in the park? A permanent chair. Second of all, even though they were Adirondack chairs, and even though their style was meant to complement this park, they were still plastic. And a lot of people objected to plastic chairs, even plastic chairs designed to look like wooden chairs, being in this park, because they thought made the park look cheap. And although that was not my intention, well, that's how it turned out. And the third reason I had to get rid of them was because Beatles fans will get this joke. The birds kept donating to the National Trust here. They kept crapping on it. They kept crapping on the chairs. I had to wipe the bird droppings off all the time, which I did not mind until the birds started going on the chairs faster than I could clean them. And after a while, some of the droppings were industrial strength to the point where I couldn't clean them off at all. And even though they were brand new chairs, I had to throw them out. So putting chairs there was a bad idea. But here's a good idea, and it's not mine. Somebody planted this bush here. Let me pan in or get a close-up here. That's nice. And let me show you another planting that was just added. This tree, I know it looks a little peaked, but we'll give it a chance. It's only been here for a few days, and I really appreciate the fact that the residents who want to make this a certified wildlife habitat, well, it already is a certified wildlife habitat, the residents who want to bring the park into a new phase and make it a different kind of park did in fact get the ball rolling when they planted this tree in addition to the bush I just showed you. And we need trees because trees fight climate change. They absorb all that carbon dioxide we humans are making. You must support the planting of more trees to offset your carbon emissions. Okay, there, let's move over to the right. And you remember I put an island in the middle of the brook because I thought it would be a nice little attraction. Well, now it's a nice, even more little attraction. This is all that's left of it. See, we had all these rainstorms come in, and it pretty much reduced the island to this little spit of land. And there's another rainstorm, possibly, likely, coming tomorrow. I'm making this video on August 26, 2026. So after a few more rainstorms, there probably won't be anything left. So enjoy it while you can, I say. And we'll just go back to the southwest corner of the park just 1 second. This cedar tree is a tree that was planted several years ago. I didn't plant it, and it looked pretty sickly for a long time, but now it's coming back nicely, nice and green. And one more thing to show you at the Impatience Garden. Nice Impatience. This is what I wanted to show you. Apparently we have a statue of John Kerry now. When I said I would have liked to have public art in this park, this isn't exactly what I had in mind, and quite frankly, it's not even remotely what I had in mind. I would never put something like this on one of my own trees because you'd have to hammer nails into the trunk of the tree to hang these eyes, the nose, and the mouth. Another reason I wouldn't put this on a tree in my yard is because I think it looks dumb. But I have to remember that this is not my property. And my vision for the park, which governed how I landscaped it for the past 2 years, has to give way to someone else's vision, at least partly. I mean, there are still ideas I can implement and keep as someone who takes care of the park, but now that other people are helping to take care of it, I have to respect what they want to do with it, and they clearly wanted to do this. I personally think it's dumb, but I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to get it removed. I'm not going to try to remove it myself either, because that would be an act of bad faith. I'm just going to grin and bear it. So let's walk back to the park's southwest corner. And no, we're never getting another adult picnic table. I don't particularly want one myself. I only donated the one I had because I didn't need it, and I thought it could still be salvaged. That was wrong, of course, because it fell apart within 2 years. But here we are, back where we started, and let me zoom in on the sign again. And this is a perfect place to end, so I'll just say goodbye, and I hope to make another video of this park as the new pollinator garden, which I'm actually pretty excited about, starts to take shape. It won't come to full fruition until 2 years from now, 2028. It takes a couple of years for these pollinator-friendly plants to mature enough to attract all the bees and the hummingbirds and all that bit. So this is goodbye for now. When there are other changes to this park, and I don't know when they're coming or how they're coming, all I know is that they're coming, but when they do come, I will be back to document them. Okay, see you later.